A static scene feels dead. Let's bring it to life with 3 different chimney smooth techniques in Unreal Engine. Hello friends, in this tutorial first we make our scene more realistic by adding assets to it. And then we simulate a smoke for our chimneys using 3 different methods with Niagara and Embergen. Let's do this. If I wanted to briefly explain to change in our scene, I created a landscape material with 5 inputs and painted it on our landscape surface. And because our material has a lot of variety, we reached such a good result. Also for the entrance, I built a guard post and small bowl and pillar and import them into our scene. I also prepared some free mesh and import them into the scene. I will put them in a file for you as well and place the link in the description. The workflow becomes like this. After importing the mesh, we paint the ground material, bring in asset around it to improve the scene. And in the end, we can also use foliage to add better detail to the environment. Alright, let's move on the first topic related to Niagara and smoke coming out of the chimney. We want to examine the facet methods, and for this reason, we use the Niagara fountain emitter system. First, because we do not need the particles moved downward, we disable the smooth gravity. After that, I reduce the velocity speed so the particle have a smoother movement. And also, I increase the size a bit. I also increase the particle spawn rate. In initialize particle, I increase the particle lifetime so we can see them longer in the scene. In the scale sprite size setting, I adjust the graph from the beginning so that the particles become large as soon as they are spawned. To avoid going through the material creation process, I use the material of the sprite renderer itself and just add a smooth like alpha for testing. Since our alpha contains 4 image, I need to set the sub UV value 2 by 2 in the setting. Now we can place it in the scene for testing. We can assign a value to the cone angle to give it a specific angle. Alright, let's move on to adding collision. By adding collision in the setting, the smooth will collide with the chimney or any other object and change direction, as long as the mesh itself has collision. But if our mesh don't have collision, what should we do? In my opinion, the best method for the main meshes that are used in our scene is to use collision complexity and set it to use complex collision as symbol. Now the mesh will deflect or block the smoke. In the setting, first set the CPU collision mode toward static. Particle radius can be used to determine to collision radius. Also, we should set the bounce value to 0, so the particles do not rebound after collision. If we increase the friction amount, the particle will somewhat stick after collision and create friction. Also, by changing the CPU trace vector, we can increase the amount of particle calculation before collision. Now, so that the particle move upward after colliding and exciting, we should use gravity force and change its direction from negative to positive, so the particle go upward. Also, by changing the scale sprite size graph or scale color, we can control the smoke further. Also, by giving different modes to gravity, such as vector from float, we can achieve different smoke angles. Or, by adding a random range vector, we can give the particle different direction and angles. Second method is Embergen. Like in the previous lessons, in this software we can, for example, use the same default smoke, create a small smoke effect, and export a VDB output from it. In Unreal, we import in the VDB, and in the engine content, we find the sparse bloom material and copy that in the our folder and create an instance from it. After that, we assign our VDB to it and enable the settings. By adding heterogeneous, we can assign the material instance to it. After that, we have a smoke in the Unreal. As you can see, the smoke is weak, but that's not a problem. We can go back to Embergen, increase the smoke strength, and re-import into the As you can see, its animation is jumping and has issues. The reason is that the loop is not set correctly in Embergen. In Embergen, we specify the proper frame and also set in the output. Third method. In this method, we render our smoke in Embergen and take a flipbook image output. From the beginning, I should say that because the default loop and animation may be not correct, we might not get a proper result. But with another method, at the end, we will reach our goal. In Embergen, go to render window and set the camera angle. Set the frame range and quality and set the mode to loop animation. Then export it. And it will give us an 8x8 image like this. Import the image into Unreal and create a material for it. In this method, we start from the beginning, add a spawn rate, and set the rate to 1. We assign our material to a sprite renderer. We also set the sub-UV to 8x8, and we add sub-UV animation so it builds the animation between the frames. As I said, because there is no proper loop and we only use this animation to show you the method, we can a better result by increasing the number of frames, but it is still not acceptable. We did this before in the fire tutorial and you can see the correct result there. Now that we have these high quality textures, let's use another method to solve the problem. We built this one in the same way we created the first emitter, and by adding the items one by one, we create the higher quality smoke. We add gravity so that we have upward movement, and also increase the spawn rate, and we can add the velocity as well and use random values for its speed. I will avoid giving new explanation because I already explained them in the first emitter of the tutorial. And to prevent the video from becoming longer, I will show the rest of the video to you more quickly. The only reason this smoke is higher quality than the smoke we created at the beginning of the tutorial is the textures. Now that we have created our smokes and we can use an HDRI or the Ultra Dynamic Sky plugin to achieve some stunning scene.